Hello everyone and welcome to another lunchtime learning session. My name is Kath and I'm the Education Outreach Manager for Good Heart Animal Sanctuaries. Today we're going to be learning all about farm animal dentition, which was actually sparked by a photograph that was shared on our social media a couple of weeks ago, where you saw one of our lovely piglets, Olive, yawning, and you can actually see all of her teeth, and that sparked a bit of a conversation on social media because a lot of people hadn't ever seen inside a pig's mouth before. And there were a few questions about, why her teeth looked like that. So I thought this would be a really good opportunity to have a look at some of our other species that we've got at the sanctuary and teach you a little bit about how their teeth are specialised for their diet, and a little bit about what we do to help care for their teeth as well, because it's such an important part of their long-term animal husbandry. Also, just to let you know, I do apologise for this video being slightly later than planned. We've been really busy this week getting everything ready for visitors to come back to our site now that the government restrictions are slowly being lifted. So I do apologise for the slightly later video. Okay, shall we get into it then? Now, firstly, please could you meet our dental patient? So who are we going to be having a closer look at today? Well, this is the photo that sparked the initial interest. This is Olive. She was one of the piglets who was born on the sanctuary site about 18 months ago. Her mum, who's called Salt, came to us as an RSPCA referral case. And at the time, we weren't actually aware that she was pregnant. And at the sanctuary, of course, we have a no breeding policy. So it was quite a surprise when she gave birth to 10 lovely bouncing piglets. So here's Olive in her bed, giving us a lovely big yawn there, so we could see her teeth. We're also going to be looking at some of our equine's teeth. So this is the lovely Nugget, who sadly passed away earlier this year, but I managed to snap this photo last year, and I think you'll agree it's a great one. Gave us a big smile, and I think it would be nice to take a closer look at his teeth as well. And finally, we've got Blondie, who is one of our oldest cows on the site. She is a blonde Dentition breed, which is traditionally bred for beef. It's a French breed, very large and muscular. And she is about 12 years old, so she is getting on a little bit, but she is particularly cheeky, so cheeky in fact that she likes to stick her tongue out at us. So here we're going to be taking a closer look at cow teeth as well and how they differ from pigs and horses. So I hope you enjoy. Let's have a little look. Okie doke, so this is just where the idea sparked from. Each of our patients here have got very different teeth, and what I want to do is take a closer look to better understand why they're so different. So firstly, why are teeth so important? Why do we want to learn about them? So here we've got an example of a human mouth, as you can see. And I just want you to take a moment straight away to think about, why your teeth are important to you. What do you use them for? Okay, so firstly, we all jump to the most obvious answer, which is for eating food. So our teeth are really, really important to help us slice, tear and grind our different sources of food. And this is actually the very first stage of digestion. So the mouth is part of our digestive system, and the chewing of food is the very first stage of that. So that is very, very important. But also, you may not have realised that teeth are intrinsically linked to our ability to communicate. So I don't know if you've had grandparents in the past, perhaps, who may have lost some of their teeth, or they may have false teeth, which they're able to remove. You'll notice that they may struggle to pronounce certain words. And that's because for humans, speech and language is very dependent on our ability for our tongue to work together with our teeth to form certain words with our lips. So without our teeth, this becomes a lot more difficult. Also, our teeth are a tool that we can use. I'm sure we've all been in situations before where we've used our teeth to grip something, or to cut something, or to, break something in half. In a variety of different situations, a lot of us rely quite heavily on our teeth as an extra appendage. And finally, it's really important, you know, in humans, we use our teeth to smile, which is a form of displaying. We use it as a method of communicating our emotion. But if you think about this in an animal world, they use their teeth in forms of display as well. So we're going to have a bit of a closer look at this later, but I just wanted to give you a broad idea of the many uses that teeth can have. And just to give you a bit of a recap, a bit of a dentist appointment, if you like, we have our incisor teeth, which are these at the very front, and you've got them on the top here and on the bottom. The next teeth along are called the canines, and they're typically a little bit sharper than your incisors, and these are for tearing bits of food. Finally, we have our premolars and our molars, which, as you can see here, are specifically designed for grinding food. So you can see they've got quite a large surface area, and they're actually quite indented and ridged. And when those teeth come together, the more ridges there are, the easier it is to grind tough or fibrous food. So that's the function of each teeth that we've got in our mouth. Now let's take a bit of a closer look at what Olive the pig has to offer. Well, did you know that pigs are actually born with needle teeth that eventually fall out when their adult teeth come through? So this is a bit like in humans when we have our milk teeth. The baby teeth push through and then the adult teeth follow through after. Did you also know that a male canine's pig teeth continue to grow and sharpen throughout their lifetime? And we actually refer to these as tusks. And tusks are used for displaying purposes and also for fighting other individuals. So if we take a closer look at Olive here, you'll notice that she's got her incisors at the front. She's also got some larger canines here, which if she were a male or an older, larger male, they may be extending all the way out to here, and they are incredibly sharp. They can, when fighting with others, they slice against their flanks and can cause quite deep and serious wounds. At the back here, we've got our typical molars, just like a human, which is used for grinding their food down. Now, let's have a closer look at this on an actual jaw bone. We've got our incisors at the front here, the larger canine, and the premolars and the molars. Now, all of these teeth are really important, and it's kind of similar to a human mouth because pigs are omnivores, just like us, or most of us anyway. Pigs are capable of eating fruit, vegetation, insects, and even meat. So they require canines and they require molars just in order to be able to feed on such a broad variety of different foods. If the animal were only eating a specific type of food, their teeth would look very different to this. And this is something that we're going to have a look at later in some other specialized species. So this is the lower jaw of a pig. And here you can have a look at the tusks that are much larger than we could see in Olive, because of course she is a young female, so her tusks aren't very large at all. But here, these are much larger. Now, as I was saying, these sharp tusks continue to grow throughout a pig's lifetime, and tusks can actually be shortened if they become too long. So that's something that we need to monitor, because there are some risks where the tusks can rub against their skin or become too much of a problem. So if needs be, they can be shortened. And that's just the overhead view there. Pig molars are actually heavily ridged as well, which makes it a lot easier for them, as I say, for them to grind down tough and fibrous food. Now, let's have a look at some wild pig species, because this is always interesting as well, because as we can see here, a lot of these look very different to our farmed pigs that we're more used to, perhaps. So here, you may be familiar with this animal. This is a warthog, just like Pumbaa in The Lion King. And you can see here, this warthog has 4 tusks actually extending out here. And that's because they form a much more serious role in the warthog's life than our traditionally farmed pigs. They are used for defense, they're used for fighting, and for displaying against other males. Another example that you may not be familiar with is this one here, which is the North Sulawesi babirusa. Now, this is another type of pig species, but what you can see here is that the second set of tusks can actually extend through the male's upper jaw. And in a second, we'll have a look at the skull just to see how this differs from a standard farmed pig and how this actually works. Okay, so here you can see the babirusa skull, and you'll notice that the upper canines of the male babirusa actually emerges vertically from the upper jaw and penetrates through that skull. And sometimes these can curve all the way back over and re-penetrate the skin. So again, it's something to keep an eye on. But this is what the babirusa has evolved to become. They are highly reliant on these tusks, acting as a form of visual communication, displaying to other males and females, letting them know that they are large and powerful, and something to be wary of. Here you can see the babirusa kind of in action. So scientists think that babirusa evolved to have very large canine teeth to aid in combat. The upper canines are used for defense, whereas the lower canines are used to attack. And if canines are not ground down through regular use, as I said before, they can continue to grow and may penetrate the skull towards the back, which is pretty crazy. Now, we're going to have a little look at some horse dentition. So I showed you Nugget earlier. Here he is with his lovely smile. Now, horses are something called obligate herbivores, which means they survive solely on grass and vegetation for food. For this reason, they have very specialized teeth, which allows them just to feed on this type of food. So the molars and premolars of horses are actually known as cheek teeth, and these very slowly erupt to compensate for the constant grinding of this grassy material. And actually, you can get a rough estimation of a horse's age by looking at their teeth because of this grinding down. And the more it's been ground down, the older the horse. So I just wanted to show you the length of a horse's teeth. So if you were to look on like a human skull, our roots would come down to about here. But you can see a horse's teeth actually extends all the way down to its lower jaw. So a horse's molars are actually described as hypsodont for this very reason, because they are very, very long and they erupt slowly over time. Here's an example of the cheek teeth of a horse overgrowing. So cheek teeth sometimes do not wear away evenly, and this results in something called points, as you can see over here, a sharp point or a hook, which is where the teeth is erupting and not being ground down by the upper molar here. So sometimes we may have to get an equine dentist in to rasp away these sharp edges and points here. And that keeps them smooth and make sure they're not having any toothache or cuts on their inner cheek. So here you can see the upper and lower jaws of horses. Again, we've got some very large incisors, and we do have some small canines here as well. The gap between the incisors and the premolars is really, really important, and it's there for a reason. It's actually to separate any foreign materials which they may have picked up from their fodder that they're feeding on, their grassy matter. So if there's any rocks or any rubble in there, they're able to spit it out without grinding those as well. Excuse me. Here is a picture of an equine dentist. Equine dentistry is an essential part of good horse husbandry. So if you don't look after their teeth, they may encounter problems further down the line with eating, which no one wants. So it's really important to get those checked quite regularly. Now moving on to looking at cows' teeth. So here again we have Blondie, the lovely Blondie. Now cows are ruminants, just like sheep and goats, and that means that they have 4 stomachs which are dedicated to the digestion of grassy matter. Their teeth are perfectly designed for tearing and chewing grass, and we're going to take a little look at that in more detail here. Now, this is the upper jaw of a cow. And just comparing this to the horse and the pig that we looked at earlier, what do you notice straight away on the upper jaw of this cow? Well, they lack upper incisors. So these teeth that we have here, cows just don't have them. So their first teeth that you can see on this upper jaw is actually right at the back of their mouth. And this is where their premolars and their molars are. So this is actually a key feature of ruminant dentition, this lack of upper incisors. You'll notice on the bottom jaw, they do have incisors. Just like the pig, just like the horse, they do have those at the bottom. And again, we've got this gap to allow for the distinction between foreign materials and grass, so that can escape here. And then we've got the molars at the back. You'll notice as well that there are very strong lower jaws for continuous chewing and grinding of food. So this is a very thick jawbone down here. Now, what do cows have rather than having teeth at the top? How do they chew anything? Well, instead of teeth, cows have something called a dental pad, which is what you can see here. Now, the dental pad allows ruminants to gather large quantities of grass and other fodder. So this dental pad is actually a toughened piece of gum. So over time, it toughens up and it pretty much acts like a gum shield. And it allows the cows to use their tongues to push their food up to the roof of their mouth and be chewed further back. Now then, a cow's tongue is a very essential part of their digestive system and of their mouth as well. So we've had a look at their teeth, but what about their tongue? Well, a cow's tongue is incredibly rough, and you'll know this if you've ever been licked by a curious cow. They use their tongue to grasp grassy fodder and pinch it off between their tongue and their dental pad. So as you can see with Blondie here, she would use her tongue to wrap around grass, pull it up around out of the ground, and then crush that against her dental pad. And that is a very essential component of her digestive system, her ability to use her tongue in that way. Now then, what I really wanted to do was to show you other specialized teeth in the animal kingdom, because I think you can really learn a lot from looking at teeth. And it helps understand how these animals have become so specialized over millions of years through evolution, and how they're just perfectly designed to carry out and live the life that they have chosen to live. So I've got an image here of a skull, and it shows these beautiful wavy teeth with these intricate indentations down the sides. And you'll notice some quite chunky incisors and canine teeth at the front here as well. And I'll give you a minute just to think about what kind of animal may have teeth like this and why. Well, it's actually a crab-eater seal. And these guys are absolutely amazing. Before I had studied animals in this way, I had no idea that they were so specialized for the diet that they ate. But here, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. They've got these beautifully wavy teeth, just like this, perfect for catching and crushing the shells of crabs, which they feed on. And the little indentations actually help to trap things like legs and antennae when they are hunting. And it allows them to keep a really good grip on their prey. So I thought that was a really good example to show. What about this one here? This one doesn't look too dissimilar from a human skull, so that gives you a bit of a clue. This actually belongs to a gelada, and specifically a male gelada, which actually have canine teeth larger than those of a lion. Now, you may think, why on earth has a monkey got canine teeth if they're not eating meat? And you're absolutely correct, the gelada only feed on grass, but rather they use their large canine teeth as a form of displaying. So this male will quite often bare his teeth if he is showing off to a female or asking a male to move away. So again, it just shows the importance of very specialized teeth in this instance. What about this one? I'll give you a minute just to think about it. It looks quite odd, like this. This is actually a bottlenose dolphin. And you can see that a bottlenose dolphin, as well as a very large and elongated beak, has these singular toothy pegs. And these are perfect for trapping and catching fish. And they're just perfectly designed to carry out their function. I thought that was another brilliant example that I wanted to show you. So that's all from our dental patients today. I hope you've enjoyed having a closer look at some of our animals' teeth and actually having a look at some wildlife teeth as well, because I think they're all so fascinating. They're all equally fascinating. I hope you are able to join me for some more educational videos soon. If you have any questions or you want to discuss anything that I've spoken about in this video, please feel free to drop me an email on kath@goodheart.org.uk. Thank you.